Hello and welcome. This week's topic is going to be about grief. The topic is one that I encountered a lot this week, and with all the inquiries I received, most of them were centered on grief. Grief shows up in many ways. Most people think that grief means loss of a loved one due to death. This is absolutely not the case. What happens inside our minds when we are grieving is that our perspectives are shifting drastically and not in a way we want our perspectives to shift. Think of it this way: the opposite of grief is elation. When someone gives you good news, like you want a trip around the world, or someone you love is pregnant, and this is good news, you receive an unexpected promotion that doubles your income. These are all examples of the opposite of grief. A few things to note: it is the unexpected and the dramatic perspective shift from good elation to unwanted grief. What you are really experiencing is change, really fast and unwanted. You are feeling the change of perspective inside your subconscious. This is grief. Now that we better understand what grief is, I'm going to cover the five stages of grief, or as I like to call them, the five stages of sudden, unwanted, and unexpected loss. There is denial, negotiation, anger, depression, acceptance. These stages do not happen in order in some cases. In other cases, you can have two, three stages all happening at the same time. There is no right or wrong answer. You can progress to stage three, anger, and then start over again and go back to denial. You can get stuck in any one of these stages for a prolonged period of time. Instead of thinking about loss of a loved one, let's instead focus on the perspective shift. The information is given, and this is a new belief that is registered into our system. I talk a lot on the system, and the Rorschach print perspective is one of the courses that I offer that is strictly focused on the system. Our first instinct is to reject the new information to protect the system. This is a result of the shock to the system. It's also a defense mechanism from our subconscious. Negotiation is the stage where we ask the one thing we need to know: are you sure? Have all the facts been checked? The purpose for negotiation is because the system knows intuitively how destructive incorrect information can be. But if the system has to accept this new belief, they have to be sure it's accurate. Imagine the horrible news if you learned someone was dead, but then they weren't. The third stage is anger. Anger gets a bad reputation. Anger can be dangerous if not handled right, but anger is actually a form of self love. Anger is the part of ourselves that loves ourselves so much that we are upset that someone or something has caused us harm. Anger is the recognition, the validation that harm is being done to the system. The perspective has shifted. The belief has been altered. The system is angry. How dare you hurt us? After the fight has left us, we sink into a depression. This is basically the system pouting and feeling sorry for itself, which is good. It is healthy. Depression is a type of withdrawing to self soothe. For those of us who struggle with depression, our guilt prevents us from effectively self soothing to the system, stays in depression mode until the self comfort requirements are met. In depression, they are not. Imagine after a fight, the dog that lost a fight crawls back wounded to its cave to lick its wounds. This is what happens during the depression stage. Depression happens when, no matter how much self soothing occurs, the depression does not lift because there is a fault in the belief system that does not allow self soothing to take place. We talk more on that later. Once self soothing levels have been reached, the pain dissipates and you can function again. Scars may remain. Pining and the absence of that loved one will always be with us. But the system has recovered from the alignment shift. The new perspective is in place. Life goes on. If you are experiencing grief, self care is vital to your recovery. Being open to accepting the new information is vital to your perspective taking place. Anger is required. For self care, seek out familiarity, comfort, and things you love. Focus on your old and most cherished hobbies. Turn to pets and loved ones. If you enjoy creature comforts, seek out that old blanket and cozy book while you nurse a hot tea. Garden, hike, shower, and bathe. Seek out luxury and comfort. You are wounded and you need to heal. Exercise. Seek out the forest or the sea. Meditate. Deep, long, slow breaths allow your heart to open and your mind to make the necessary shifts with less resistance. Those shifts must take place in order for the pain to diminish. The more you resist, the more the pain. Let the change come. It must. Don't resist the inevitable future.